Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel is Finding Value, and we're always looking for undervalued investment opportunities on this channel. So if that sounds interesting to you, click subscribe. I'm going to go over a market update. This is kind of a culmination of just a bunch of random things thrown together. The market's not too exciting. I'm not seeing a lot of up days, not seeing a lot of down days. So I'm just going to kind of take random stuff in terms of sectors like copper, uranium, oil. We'll look at all these things. I'll look at some of the tech companies and see what they're doing. So this is an overall market update for everything. Kind of just grab some charts. So the whole market is what we're looking at. No bounds. Let's just do a sweep across it all. And again, this is only financial education. It is not advice or anything like that. So you guys still have to do your own due diligence on if you want to partake in any of this stuff. So we'll start with the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield. It's really just going sideways. We've kind of hit this wall up here, and we've been just tracking sideways. Maybe they're doing yield curve control. Maybe they're in here buying stuff. I'm not exactly sure, but it is just tracking sideways, and we're seeing that in a lot of different markets. This tracking sideways over time. We're seeing it in NEO. NEO's been going sideways. This is an electric vehicle company. I drew a trend line in here, kind of hitting some of these points. It's right there at the trend line, and it's at a critical spot. If this trend line doesn't hold, we could see a substantial move lower. We're seeing the 50-day kind of come around and cross that 200-day. I think they call it the death cross. So it's one to watch. It's one to see if this trend line holds, because if the trend line doesn't hold, we could see a big move lower, substantial move lower. I've got Tesla here as well. A lot of the fanboys, they all jump on Tesla, so I like to watch it. Not for any personal reasons in terms of investments. It's just I like watching it and seeing who's getting killed and what's going on. That's the only reason I kind of watch Tesla. We've got this upward trend line here that broke down. So it broke down past through this upper trend line, and we're creating this other pattern here. It's a kind of a squeezing up, tightening pattern. And it broke to the downside somewhat. I mean, it's not a clear break. We're kind of just sitting there. So sometimes, it's kind of the last ditch effort of the 200-day giving support. I think this is going to roll over and head lower, which is probably going to, NEO's going to do the same thing here. So it's not looking good for Tesla, at least from the way that I'm viewing it right here and drawing in support lines, trend lines, all that stuff. It seems like things are breaking down. And even if you were to focus in on this area in here, it looks like we have a bearish, engulfing, bearish, piercing formation that just formed today, which means that the sellers are in control and they're probably going to push this thing lower, usually, statistically speaking. Now, we've got Apple here. That doesn't look much better either. We've got this nice we were in an uptrend coming all through here, and the thing that I don't like about this chart is it's spanning almost an entire year. I mean, it's getting up there, and it's making no progress at all. You've got a shoulder, head, shoulder in here. It's kind of sandwiched in there. You've got this pattern that developed. It broke to the downside, came back up and back tested, and now it wants to go lower. That's what I see. So to me, I mean, you start adding these things up. You start looking at NEO, you start looking at Tesla, you start looking at Apple. It's not painting a great picture for the overall tech sector. To me, it looks like it wants to head lower. Here's Amazon, somewhat of a same chart pattern as Apple, going sideways. It broke to the downside, came up, looked like it wanted to run, but there was no buyers, so it just sold right back off. And it looks like it wants to head lower now. Shoulder, head, and it's kind of putting in this weird shoulder type deal. So Amazon as well. Here's Platinum. I just kind of threw in that channel. Could it head lower? Sure, it could head lower. It could go all the way down to the bottom down here, back to this bottom support trend line on this channel, and we would be just fine if we went back to $1,000, 1,050, 1,000, somewhere in there. So it could come back down to about there, especially if the overall market's kind of head lower. We've got SM Energy. I just kind of threw that one in there. It's definitely hitting its head. It's trying to move, and it's just sitting there moving sideways. So I've got kind of later on in this presentation the price of oil itself, so we can look at that. Here's your North Shore Global Uranium Mining. This guy's been just chopping sideways too. It's like sideways chop, back and forth, back and forth. It may head a little bit lower before it goes higher. And we've got the trend line here. It's down quite a bit, in terms of where price is. It's down a ways. So it could go all the way down to 50, low 50s and be just fine. We'd still be in an uptrend. So, just be patient. Be patient. Now here's the S&P 500, large cap index. I don't see it totally breaking down here, but it's kind of just chopping sideways. And I'm trying to read. I mean, if you look at these, you've got a nice big move lower here, and then you've got a smaller move higher, and it's kind of contracting down. So I want to see where the heck this goes. We're kind of in a sideways chopping action that we don't know the direction, a clear direction yet. We are still in an uptrend. We are still moving higher on the S&P 500. So it still looks good. But I just want to see we need more data. And the same goes for the Dow. Still in an uptrend. We do have some larger sell-off days here, and then the smaller pull-up, and we're contracting down. I'd like to see if this thing holds or if it falls out to the downside. But we need more data. We need more trading days. Here's the Dow to gold ratio. Gold's been outperforming the Dow recently. That's why the ratio's been declining. We'll see if this continues. And again, remember, we could have the Dow fall and gold remain steady, and this ratio still contracts. We've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a very volatile guy going on here. We can draw this through here, and as far as I can tell, everything's been broken, and the path of least resistance for a chart that looks like this is lower. I would not be trying to go long here. I would let if you guys like Bitcoin, it doesn't matter to me. Just looking at the chart, I would wait for the momentum to dissipate before going into Bitcoin. It looks to me like it's got a lot of momentum to the downside right now, and I would not be jumping in front of that. This isn't the time to try catching a falling knife, because you know what you're gonna get trying to do that? A cut hand. That's what you're gonna get hit. You're gonna get a cut hand trying to catch this falling knife. And what I do is I like to let the momentum dissipate before trying to go long. And again, I'm a really long-term, big picture view investor, and Bitcoin's chart from a big picture doesn't look all that great. You may have to let it consolidate for a while. How long? I'm not exactly sure. It could be months. It could be years. But it's going to need a lot of time. Now here's oil. Oil is looking pretty good, actually. We got a nice bullish engulfing right here. Oil has been moving back and forth, pretty volatile, ever since I'd say March, and this thing kind of sold off, and it's just been fighting back and forth all over the place in here. And we can see that on the charts of Centennial Development and SM Energy and some of the stocks that we have. But we put in a bullish engulfing, so I'm going to let it ride. Let it ride. It's not like I'm going to do anything with it. Here's copper. Copper's still in a very strong uptrend. We're in a small short-term pullback right now, and that may continue for a little while longer. But we are still in the overall uptrend above its 50-day. It still looks very good. Here is palladium. Palladium is pulling on back. It is getting a dose of sell-off. And you can see the volume picking up a little bit on the right-hand side. I would let that momentum dissipate. And again, I don't really hold anything in palladium. I like platinum much better. Platinum's a substitute for palladium, and with palladium at $2,784, there's no reason it should be this high. I mean, platinum, they're going to substitute platinum, and platinum will eventually meet the price of palladium at some point at some price. I don't know what that price is. I don't know what that point is, but I do know that platinum's the undervalued play here. And then we've got uranium here. This is the price of uranium. It is moving up. We're at 31.15. So it has made some progress. I like the big moves higher and then the small kind of sell-offs like this. So just be patient and let it go. Be patient. And probably of all the charts, I didn't throw in gold and silver here. I did do the Dow to gold ratio. But gold and silver, they're looking good. They're not too bad. Uranium right here looks pretty good. Some of the other ones, like the technology companies, they are suffering. And I that's one to watch. Is it going to pull, everything back down with it? Maybe. I don't know. I don't have all the answers here because before the markets were very highly correlated. They were like lockstep, trading right next to each other. And we're starting to see some of it kind of break apart. And the tech stocks are very dependent on low interest rates. And with interest rates climbing the way they have, they don't like it. Could this kind of could we have a sell-off over the next month or two? We could. And it could bring everything down with it. How big? Don't know. I want to see more data. I want to see what the Dow does. I want to see what the S&P 500 does. I want to see if their uptrends remain intact. I want to see if these things all hold together. Because we can kind of see signs of things kind of breaking apart a little bit, but they haven't broken anything yet. It hasn't broken the structures yet. So be patient here. We are seeing other things like palladium, like some of these other areas kind of break down a little bit, but we're seeing some strength in, say, oil and uranium. So things are mixed. Let's keep watching this stuff. Let's see which way it breaks. I'm not doing anything personally. I'm just looking at this stuff, watching it, getting enjoyment out of it. And my account's really not going anywhere. It's going up and down, up and down, up and down. Some days are down really big. Some days are up really big. But it's been really going nowhere over this past month or so. So I'm just waiting. I want to see what direction the market's going to break. I am still partial to things going higher, not necessarily lower. I'm not in that deflation, everything's going to break apart camp. Could we have a pullback? If we do have a pullback, I don't think it's going to be some blowout pullback. Could be wrong, but usually that comes with a declining real estate market. So if we have a strong real estate market, I don't think we're going to have that blowout kind of crash. It'll be a slow kind of just meandering lower type move versus a crash short term, like a Bitcoin crash that we've seen. I don't think it'll be like that for the overall market. That's just kind of my guess on looking at these charts. So if you guys have any comments or questions, put it in the comment section, please. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.